Hello everyone, I'm back. I hadn't really gone anywhere, I just hadn't had a chance to get on to make any new video. Um, but it's currently 4 o'clock in the morning, and to be honest, I'm having trouble sleeping and a little bit lonely. It's been about 5 years since I've had a relationship with anyone, and I don't go out. So because of anxiety and a host of other small problems that I'm not going to get into, I don't get out to meet anyone. So I thought I would just come online and talk about some things that are on my mind at the moment. Um, One of the things is you might be wondering about the mask. It actually helps me with anxiety. I have been known to wear it out in public, or one like it or similar to it. That way if someone is going to stare at me, at least they're staring at me for a reason. I'm not a particularly beautiful woman, and I don't say that with much bitterness, because if there's one thing I have learned through my life, is that you have to have variety. You have to have your beautiful people, you have to have your ugly people, you have to have the people in between. Your fat people, your thin people, and the people in between that as well. And the reason why is because that is what makes life beautiful. And it actually does not matter which one you are. You are the most beautiful one on the face of the planet, and yet that does not mean you're happy. I have heard of many models, beautiful models, models that walk the catwalk, that are constantly in the magazines and in front of the cameras because people just can't stop looking at them because they're so gorgeous, suffer from deep depression, not happy, having problems with men, having problems with friends, even having problems with money, believe it or not. It just seems to be that it does not matter. If you're going to have problems in your life, your looks do not always make those problems easier to resolve. I actually am a big fan of a gentleman in Scotland by the name of Hewitt. Actually, I think I have a picture of him that I can pull up real quick. He's a wonderful man. He talks a lot about self-esteem and problems for women. Women who worry, because they're chunky. They worry because their thighs touch. They worry because they have cellulite. They worry about all those things. And again, even those beautiful women worry about that. And I think that they actually worry more about that kind of thing than most regular women do, because their looks are their bread and butter. And yes, I do have a picture of him. There we go. Lovely man. He's a lovely man. He's a lovely man inside and out. Goes around and he talks to a lot of people and gives a lot of very uplifting speeches to try to make people feel better about themselves. And that's a wonderful thing. The only thing is, most of his speeches seem to be aimed at women, and I've noticed that there's not very many speeches aimed at men. And most men, I've noticed, sometimes have the same kind of problems that women have, just on a different level. For example, you have your men who are, assholes. And this is just automatically assumed to be a bad thing. It's not. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you have to be an asshole. You just have to be. That is the only way that you can get to where you need to go in life. Some people just do not take nice. They will take nice and they will walk all over you. And so therefore you have to stand up for yourself and you have to be an asshole. And some men look up to that, and some men look at that as being a bad thing, that they would never, be an asshole to anyone else. And that falls along the lines of some women being bitches. Again, not always a bad thing. Sometimes you have to be a bitch. And being a bitch, can take a long time to perfect. So if you're one of those women that managed to pull off being a bitch, and you have a lot of friends, and you get a lot of things done in your life, congratulations to you. More power to you. I, unfortunately, am one of those nice women, and I tend to kind of get walked over all the time. So, I have to work on my bitchiness, and I am trying to work on that and failing miserably, but I have not given up yet. Another thing that I've noticed with men is sometimes they worry about their bodies, but not in the same way that women do. We I've noticed personally that some men are very thin. I have two sons actually, and both of them are very thin. I mean, to the point of being bony, and yet they eat constantly. They eat morning to night, and they eat and they drink, and they just do not put on weight at all. I don't know where they put all these calories, but they're not putting on weight. And what I've noticed is some of these men will get with women who make them feel bad about being thin, because these women, for some reason, they seem to think that they must be thinner than the men that they're with. And so they blame these men for their bodies, who might be, perfectly beautiful, but because they're heavier than the men that they're with, they seem to resent that. And they especially seem to resent the fact that men are eating a lot, and they can't do that. They have to stick to whatever diet they're sticking to try to keep their body as is, or to perhaps to lose weight. And guys, that is a toxic relationship. That is not something that you should stick with. If you're with a woman who is angry and kind of resenting you for being thinner than she is, that might be a sign that maybe you need to look for a woman who is more happy with the way she is, more happy with her body, and is okay with being with a man who is thinner than she is. Being a thin man is not necessarily a bad thing. Then you get these men who, they're buff. But for some reason, being buff is not enough. They must continue to try to get buffer and more muscular. This kind of thing is actually a reverse of anorexia, believe it or not. You can have a man who is very muscular. He'll look in the mirror and he will see this thin, scrawny man, which he is not. But because that is what he sees, he will abuse steroids. He will spend every waking moment of his time in the gym trying to achieve this body that he will never realistically see in the mirror. And again, he may wind up with a woman who is, she may be plump. She may be overweight. She may look at this man and think, he's never going to be happy with me because I am not muscular like that. I am not in shape. I am not supermodel material. I must change this. I must go to the gym more. I must stop eating, pizza, and I must stop eating ice cream, and I must stop drinking all these sodas. And then she is miserable. And what does she do? She takes it out on the man. He is going to the gym. He is putting the work into it. He may not expect you to do the same thing. He may be happy with you the way you are. But again, if you're blaming this man because you're not muscular and you're not in shape, you're presenting this man with a toxic relationship. It's not good. And if you're not going to change, then it's probably not surprising if he decides to move on. Maybe even to the kind of the woman that you think that he wanted to be with originally. He might not have wanted to be with that woman. He might have been very happy with you. But you can drive a man off by taking out your low self-esteem on him. And ladies, we have to try to stop doing that. We have to love ourselves, and we have to believe the man that we're with loves us for who we are. Men who are fat, you're cuddly, you're soft, you're warm. I mean, there's women out there they're perfectly lovely, they have perfectly nice bodies, and they're perfectly happy with, a man who's chubby. But again, you're still getting these women who are like that, and sometimes they kind of think that if they're out with this guy who is chubby, where other people look at them and think that they're settling down, where other people look at them and think that, oh, she's putting all this work into being beautiful and he's not doing his part. She may think these things unconsciously, not even realizing that she's doing it. And again, you've got a woman who's kind of taking out her self-esteem, even if she's got a beautiful body, out on a perfectly nice man, a good man who's good to her, because he's chubby. And he may be exercising, he may be going to the gym, he may be doing what he can, to limit his calorie intake, but his body is just built to be chubby. There's nothing he can do about that. That's just like us women, when our thighs touch. We can't help that. That is an anatomy issue. It's not a weight issue. It's not an exercise issue. It's an anatomy issue you can't change. But again, these are things that a woman can do that will actually provide a toxic relationship and can actually damage a relationship with a man who is good to her, a man who is a good man to be with. And she may take that and then relegate him from being a romantic interest to being a friend. That friend that you go running to because that is the one who provides you the comfort that you need, the one that makes you feel good about yourself, after you've gone with a man that you think you should be with because you think this is the perfect man, this is the one for me, and in reality, he's not. He's opposite of everything that you actually want, that you've shoved over to the side to be, in the friend zone. So, ladies, we need to think about that. And other things we need to think about is, yes, we do a lot for men and we do a lot for our children. We do. We do chores. A lot of times we cook. A lot of times we do most of the cleaning. And a lot of times the men who do their cleaning, they do a little bit of cleaning. But I guarantee you that little bit of cleaning that he does for you, he is 100% more excited over what he's done for you than what you have done for him. He may wipe down the counter and you might hear it for the rest of the week. You could be outside gardening, your hands dirty, buried in the soil, flicking bugs off of you, and he could come running out, baby, I wiped the counter down. I did it for you, sweetheart. Whew, it's hot out here. I'm gonna go lay down now. Take a nap. Love you, love. Love you so much. Wipe that counter down, yeah. Never know. You'll probably hear about it all week. And instead of getting angry over that, kind of take that as a humor thing and think, oh wow, he's not being sarcastic. He really is super proud that he has wiped the counter down for you. That he has emptied the ashtray for you. That he put the dishes away for you. To him that may be a big deal. You might want to ask him about it. Because again, it really might be his way of showing you he loves you, and he may not realize that maybe it's coming off as, oh gee, I do so much for him and he does so little. And then we have these wonderful men like Daniel, whom I just showed you the picture of, who will talk about, how he would like to rub your back. It's wonderful to have a man that will rub your back, scratch your back. Oh my God, I could almost have an orgasm when I have my back scratched and it's scratched just right. It's like, it feels wonderful. But you know what? On the other hand, too, when I've been with a man, I like rubbing their feet. I don't have a foot fetish. And I like their feet clean. But for some reason, I just kind of like rubbing feet. While I'm watching TV, if they've got their feet on my lap, I like rubbing their feet, rubbing their toes. Now, this has the unfortunate effect, though, of putting them to sleep a lot of the time. So if I've rented out a movie and I'm expecting him to watch this movie with me and enjoy it with me, and I'm rubbing his feet, and I look over and he's gone to sleep on me, is a little bit arbitrary for me to get pissed off that he's fallen asleep. Sometimes you have to just step back and say, you know what? I must have made him feel really good and really comfortable that he could just fall asleep, at the drop of the hat because I'm rubbing his feet. And maybe make a note to yourself next time that the movie that you want him to stay up and watch, don't rub his feet. Don't rub his back, Don't do anything that may possibly put him to sleep. And if you've been with him long enough, you will learn those little tips and tricks that put him to sleep. He's got a favorite pillow on the couch. He lays down on it. He's out like a light. Move the fucking pillow. Okay? Move it. There's a specific spot on the couch that he sits down on. He falls asleep. Sit in that spot. Make him move his ass over to the other side. Okay? Don't rub his feet. Guaranteed you'll get at least a little bit more of the movie watched. On the other hand, again, I'm going to say him sleeping next to you could be his version of spending time with you, believe it or not. The fact that he is sitting next to you, even if he is sleeping or looking up the scores on the football team, baseball team, hockey, whatever he is into, is still his version of spending time with you. He is sitting right next to you, therefore he is spending time with you. Taking you out on a date is something that is a bigger deal for him. Excuse me, actually let me rephrase that. It's a bigger deal for you than it might be for him. Him taking you out to eat may be just he wants to go to a restaurant and he wants to eat. He wants to pig out, okay? He wants to have food that isn't home cooked. And he's bringing you along for the ride. You can do the whole expecting, oh, you know, this is going to be romantic. He's going to order my favorite meal and maybe some wine, champagne, something fancy like that. And we're just going to talk, you know, about how much we love each other and how this relationship is going, you know, and things, you know, how happy we are, things like that. And you get to the restaurant and what do you get? He's sitting there and he's stuffing his face and drinking beer. And his talking is relegated to syllables of, yeah, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah, right, baby, yeah, absolutely, baby, you're right, yeah, yeah. And then you're sitting on the other side of the table looking at him going, you never talk to me. Yeah, right, okay, baby, yeah, we'll work on that. Sometimes you have to try to draw your questions out so that you don't get the one-syllable answers. If he's looking at something on his phone, don't ask him, are you looking up the scores to the football game? Because inevitably you're going to get the, yeah, baby, that's what I'm doing. Instead, you could ask him, hey, are you looking at something that I can look at? Is it something funny? Is it, you know, a funny test from somebody? Is it a funny meme? You know? You know, if you're not letting me look at it, are you talking to some fucking chick, you know, that maybe I should know about? Get him involved in the conversation, and believe me, that comment right there will get him involved in a conversation. It might not be a pleasant conversation, and it may not end the way you want it to end, but guaranteed at least it will get them talking. Usually 100 miles an hour. So, just, you know, rubbing all that all down, women have low self-esteem, and we have to work on that. But, you know, we need to remember that men have low self-esteem, too. And they're not like women. They don't think like women. They don't act like women. And if you are expecting to get that kind of thing from a man, then maybe you should consider going out instead with a woman. Maybe spending more time with your best friend, you know, instead of that. And just learning to appreciate all the little things that the man is doing for you that he thinks is a big deal, even if you don't think it's a big deal. Killing the spider, you know, wiping the counter down, putting the dishes away, you know, praise him on it. At least, you know, say thank you for doing that for me, baby. Even if the, you know, fucking sink is full and overflowing with all the dishes in the house and the only thing he's done is actually put away 3 plates, 2 cups, and some utensils. At least thank him for that. Thank you, baby. That was very nice of you. You know, then you could ask for, do you mind helping me with some of the dishes? So, try those things. I hope they work out. You know, thank you for spending your time with me and letting me talk to you. I probably won't be able to go to sleep, but I'm going to get off here for a moment and maybe come back on later for another video. In the meantime, you know, for those of you who are in a different time zone, if you're just waking up, good morning. If you're just going to bed, good night. You know, this is Elizabeth, and I'm signing off. Thank you.